Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. Today we're going to be continuing the Deadpool run brought to you by Daniel Way, in which Deadpool was trying to find a way to basically kill himself because he found life to be boring. Well, after facing off the Hulk and being placed into prison afterwards and still not being dead, they then decided that he was actually insane and set him up with a psychiatrist. Well, do you think that's gonna help Deadpool? Or do you think it's about to get worse? Because it's about to get worse. In our last video, Deadpool was dead set on getting himself killed by antagonizing the one person who could possibly do it, Bruce Banner. So after dropping nukes, yes, nukes, the hulked out Bruce Banner did give Deadpool what he wanted by punching his head into a bloody mist. But like everything else, that didn't work. Bruce ended up handing Deadpool over to the authorities to be put into a mental hospital. Now in the Crossmoor prison located in central England, Warden Ames sits down with the Director General Swinton to discuss their newest prisoner, Deadpool. Ames sighs, stating that Deadpool would have been much better suited for the raft, and Swinton tells him that he fully agrees. But if it wasn't for Deadpool's legal counsel with Jennifer Walters, that's where he would be. But the resident psychologist didn't help in the matter. Just then, the intercom buzzes and Ames' aide tells him that Dr. Whitby is here to see him. Swinton pours himself another glass quietly, stating, "Speak of the devil." Psychologist Ella Whitby opens the door, asking if either of them would care to explain why Deadpool was placed in seclusion when it is clearly written that he is to be under her supervision. There is no need for him to be there and denied the treatment like any other inmates that would be here. Wouldn't you agree, Director General Swinton? Swinton holds his glass, telling her, "I fully agree. As a matter of fact, I was speaking with the warden about transferring Deadpool into your innovative and inspiring program." Ella tells the two of them, "All right then," and she closes the door behind her. Ames shouts, "My good man, could you have thrown me any further under the bus?" And Swinton tells him, "Politics, my dear chap." Like it or not, that horrible goblin of a woman is the daughter of Dr. Everett Whitby, the executive director of the NHS Trust, that is not just funding his daughter's program, but also keeping the door to Crossmoor open with funding since we've had this facility cut off. Ames sits back, stating, "I had no idea. Wait, you've been cut off? Why?" Swinton goes on and explains, "Crossmoor's security record isn't the greatest. 2 in 3 superhuman criminals have escaped since the beginning. We've received money to correct that issue, but it comes in the unpleasant form of Dr. Ella Whitby. If her psychological treatment program on violent superhumans has proven to be a success, Crossmoor's reputation could be restored along with its budget. So the important thing now is to make sure that we give the little troll what she wants. And for God's sake, do not let Deadpool escape." Which at that very moment, Deadpool's attempting to do by punching his way through all of the security guards. The sirens all begin to go off, signaling a prison break, but as Ames puts on his body armor, he quickly finds Deadpool beating on the guards with their own shock sticks. While the fight continues, Ella shouts to him, stating that she knows that he should never have been locked up in that cell, and for that she's sorry. And Deadpool asks, "Who the hell are you?" as he kicks another guard in the groin. She yells, "Hostage, Miss Hostageworth." Deadpool looks at her. "Oh, hi! Nice to make your acquaintance." He grabs Ella by the neck and he holds her out as a human shield. He then begins to yell to everyone, "If you get close, I'm gonna snack the ugly chick's neck, so you better start talking. Why am I here, and why are you all talking like pirates? It's freaking me out." Ella tells him that it's English. They're speaking English because they're in England. And Deadpool lets go of Ella, asking, "Seriously? Wow, England sucks." And just as he says that, his head explodes as a guard puts down his gun, stating, "That sorted that out." 13 minutes later, in confinement, Deadpool starts beating his head against the polycarbonate wall of his cell. As he does, a voice outside says that it seems their new patient is having some trouble adjusting to his new environment. And Ella corrects the man, stating that her patient, Mr. Cirrus. Cirrus then asks, "Isn't that getting a bit possessive? And it's Dr. Cirrus if you don't mind." Ella tells Cirrus that actually she does mind. His practitioner's license was revoked when he committed mass murder and was put in here. Now just sit there and continue working on your puzzle while... But Cirrus slams his arms on the table, shouting, "I do not like these puzzles!" She fixes her glasses, telling him that she's very glad to hear that, Mr. Cirrus. "You're not supposed to like them." She walks over to Deadpool, asking how he's feeling, and Deadpool looks at Ella, asking, "Did we ever date? I know you from somewhere." She says, "Well, you might be thinking of earlier when he took her hostage." And Deadpool says, "We did have a relationship." As he smiles, Horse-like laughter from Ella erupts, followed by a snort. And Deadpool thinks to himself, man, this chick really is ugly. As she fixes her glasses again, the other two inmates on the second floor watch, and one asks, hey Kurt, who's Whitby talking to? And Kurt tells him a fool. Ella then says, in all seriousness, how are you feeling? And Deadpool says that he's not sure. How about you come in here and feel me? Just then Kurt's voice shouts, how about you watch your freaking mouth? And Ella yells at Kurt to go away. Deadpool and Kurt stare each other down, and as Kurt walks away, Deadpool waves yelling, bye-bye, Kurt! So yeah, where were we? Ella then asks, do those sores all over you hurt? Are they painful? Deadpool pauses for a moment and then turns away shouting, stop staring at me! Ella tells him, no one is. And Deadpool punches the walls yelling, they all think they can laugh at me since I'm locked up? Just wait till I get out of here. I'm gonna lay waste to every single one of you, mother! Ella stops him, telling him, actually, your door's unlocked. It stays unlocked from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. You're free to leave whenever you'd like. Deadpool stops. Really? As he steps out, she asks, is that better? Deadpool cracks his knuckles. Much better. A short while later, over at Ames' office, he and Ella sit in silence for a few moments while Ames asks, why? Ella begins to say that they needed to treat Deadpool like all the others and give him the proper. Ames holds out a folder labeled Incident Report, stating, never in my 35 years of prison service have I ever met another man like Deadpool. 4 minutes. Within 4 minutes, Deadpool assaulted 10 other inmates, all of which received injuries so severe that they needed to be transferred to the hospital. Later, after lights out in the common room, Ella goes to Deadpool's cell telling him that they need to talk. He asks, did you see it when I stabbed the guy with his own femur? How badass was I when I stomped that jerk Kurt's face in too? Ella says, yeah, she saw all of it. Those men are going to need reconstructive surgery, possibly bone and skin grafts. But that's not why she's here. She's here to tell him that if he doesn't work with them, he'll be sent back to the States under the File 42 protocol. So it would be in his best interest to answer their questions. And let's start as to why does he wear the mask? Deadpool tells her, well, it's so I don't get stuff in my mouth. Blood, bone fragments, hair. Ella says, okay, but also, it's not when you're working. Why is that? And Deadpool shouts, because I like it! Meanwhile, over at the hospital, all of the inmates were sent to. Kurt begins to wake up with his face completely bandaged, stating, I am going to put Deadpool down. A few days later, after the inmates all had a chance to recover, they're all brought back to confinement. And Deadpool shouts, welcome back! Anybody want to play checkers before lunch? And then he stops and realizes that today is Wednesday. And he yells, that means it's fruit cocktail! But while everyone is handing out their fruit cocktails to Deadpool, Kurt watches from his cell asking, when is he going to be let back into the common room? Ella tells him as soon as she is certain that he will not retaliate based on last week's incident. Until then, he'll remain locked in his cell. Once everyone has had a chance to eat and returns to their cells, Ella takes Deadpool out and tells him, I would like you to work on a puzzle that I've made especially for you. After dumping a box of puzzle pieces onto the table, Deadpool yells, puzzles are rad! Oh, and there's no picture on this box, so how am I supposed to work out what this is? Ella tells him to start with the edges, but she must warn him. The image he sees may cause an outburst of emotions, and Deadpool looks at the pile of pieces and says, Kararachi, 11 years ago. Ella asks, what? And Deadpool goes on stating, that gig was bonkers, I even lost a foot, but this photo sucks. Whoever took this photo just took pictures of bodies, and not me being awesome, like when I mowed down half of those guys with a falafel cart that I modded with a .30 caliber minigun. Ella says that's what she wants him to see, the bodies, and Deadpool shouts, that's the boring part! She asks why is murder boring, and Deadpool tells her, I'm a mercenary, not a murderer, there's a difference. Ella tells him, so it's the money that motivates you? Because I don't believe that. I think you enjoy killing people. The two stop, and they stare at each other for a few moments, and Deadpool says, okay, when I was a kid, I saw a fully grown man die because he slipped and fell off his porch. Everyone in the neighborhood was all shocked and stuff. And just then, Deadpool trails off. Ella waits for Deadpool to continue the story, and she asks, you're saying? And Deadpool stops. Huh? Wait. She sighs, stating that they'll come back to that later, and Deadpool stretches, telling her, good, because Deadpool's sleepy. As the days went on, Deadpool became more and more withdrawn from everyone, starting to sleep out in the common area. One of those days, as mail was called, Deadpool receives a letter from himself. He looks at it asking, why would he mail himself something? Was it before he was locked up? He opens the letter and sees just a single picture. And one of the other inmates grabs it asking, is that Charlie Chaplin? Deadpool looks at the photo asking, why would I send this to myself? And another inmate says, maybe because you are mental. As everyone goes through their letters, one of the guards stops by Kurt's cell telling him that he got a letter from the parole board. The guard holds the letter up to the cell so that Kurt can read it and begins to grind his teeth. The guard says that they'll give it to him when he gets out of solitary. And Kurt tells him not to bother, just throw it away and burn it. The guard asks, "Bad news, huh?" And Kurt says, "Yeah, real bad news." Later that evening, Ella heads home for the night to her apartment, but before she has the chance to go up, her landlady asks if she can have a word. Some of the other residents have been complaining about a smell coming out of her room, as she understands that she works late and even stays overnight. Maybe she could remember to take the garbage out or clean the refrigerator. That would probably help. Ella looks away, stating that she's sorry about that. She's just been so engrossed with her work that she's been losing track of time. She'll make sure everything's taken care of. She walks upstairs and walks into her apartment, which is just littered with trash and clothing. She walks over to her refrigerator and opens it. When she looks in, she sighs. Back at Crossmore, 2 guards begin to walk over to Solitary as they release one of the prisoners back into the common room. As the first guard walks towards Pod 2, the senior guard tells them to stop. They are releasing Pod 3. The first guard says that he's pretty sure they had 2, and the senior guard tells him that he wasn't there. But Dr. Whitby clearly said 3. The senior guard looks into Kurt's cells, telling him, "All right, you're free to come out and play." However, as Deadpool is sleeping in the common room, he dreams of a sweet and pleasant dream with his future wife, Death. Except when she comes home, she finds Deadpool sitting around their apartment telling him that he's a real loser. Deadpool flips through the channels of their small TV asking what she's talking about. And Death says, "Look at all the trash everywhere." Would it kill him to make a home-cooked meal or clean once in a while after a hard day's work? Deadpool asks, "What are you talking about? A hard day's work? You're Death! Your job is nothing! You're just are! Everyone else does work for you." Death sighs, stating that she's leaving. If he wants her, he can get up and try and stop her. Deadpool folds his arms, stating, "I ain't getting up." But out in the real world, Kurt is screaming to Deadpool, telling him to get up. And after snoring and not waking up, Kurt punches Deadpool off his table, and one of the other inmates says that they should look under the mask to make sure it's really him. As Kurt reaches down, Deadpool reaches up, grabbing Kurt by the throat, telling him, "Hell yeah!" And he throws him across the common room. Deadpool looks at the other inmate, asking, "You're ready for a fight, right?" "Because I so am." While Deadpool's brawl breaks out over in the hallways, Ella runs in stating that she got the message. "What's going on?" And Ames tells her that it's bloody obvious, isn't it? They're quelling a riot. Ella tells him to wait. She just isn't going to let him do anything to. But before she could finish, she's hit with a shock stick, and Ames says that they'll deal with her later. They need to hurry and restore order to this prison. Back in the common area, Kurt whacks Deadpool in the back of the head with a shock stick and then jumps on his back as the others begin to punch him. Ames and his men reach for the door to that common area, but before he can enter, he tells the guards to wait a minute. Maybe this can, resolve itself. As Kurt pulls back the shock stick against Deadpool's throat, he shouts, "Why? Why did she choose you? She was mine, and then you showed up and she kicked me out. She signed off on my freaking parole. I don't want to be set free. I love her, man. But if killing you means that I get to stay here, then I'm gonna do it." Deadpool coughs, telling him, "I got a better idea." Soon all the inmates run to the door, banging on it, shouting to let them out, and as Ames and his men rush in, they begin to detain everyone. A week later, the hearing for Kurt being released on parole is called, and Ames meets with the board personally as a character witness. The board goes through Kurt's papers, asking, it would seem that he had run-ins with another inmate named Wade Wilson. Ames tells him yeah, and while Deadpool has been permanently relocated to solitary confinement, he'll still receive treatment by their psychologist. Over in that unit, Ella walks into his cell, telling him that she's really sorry that all of this has happened. The moment she filed the complaint against Ames, he filed over 30 right back at her. She's a failure. After a few moments of silence, she asks him to say something, but the voice that responds, it isn't Deadpool's. Back in the hearing, the board tells Ames that they need a moment to speak with Kurt alone so that they can move this along. Ames leaves the room, giving Kurt a thumbs up, and after he leaves, the board tells Kurt that if he would, please rise. They've reviewed everything, and they've made a determination. His parole has been granted, and he is now a free man. Over in solitary confinement, Ella pauses, and Kurt is sitting there asking her, do you believe that it's possible for you to love one of your patients? Ella begins to run towards Ames' office, and as she storms in, she asks, is he gone yet? And Ames asks, what are you talking about? Ella yells, Kurt, has he left? Outside of the prison, Kurt walks outside when Ella runs after him, telling him to wait. Kurt stops, and Ella goes on stating that she can't believe she's saying this, but she loves him. At first, she thought it was simply a girlish fascination with death, but her feelings, they truly intensified with the time that they spent together. She is madly in love with him, and now that he is no longer a prisoner, Kurt turns, and he walks away. Ella calls out that maybe they should go see a film together. One of her favorites is The Great Dictator. It's a masterpiece by Charlie Chaplin. Deadpool pulls the bandages off of his face, telling her, you're the one that sent me that photo? Ella runs up, stating that she couldn't bear to see him so withdrawn from everything, but this is fate. Inside Deadpool's mind, he tells himself, this ugly chick is crazy, but not sexy crazy. She's like ugly scary. Ella holds Deadpool by the hand, telling him, she understands him better than anyone else out there. This is meant to be. And as she pulls Deadpool close, she puckers up to give him a kiss. And there you have it, more Daniel Way Deadpool. Now he's freed. He's got a crazy ugly girl, as he put it. I didn't say it. He said it. Do not come after me. But anyway, crazy girl's chasing him down. So what's going to happen next for Deadpool? Well, he's going to fight evil Deadpool because there's an evil Deadpool. That's next. So make sure you subscribe right here to Comicstorian to get your next Deadpool storyline. And I'll see you next week right here at Comicstorian. I should make a metal band. Metal! Oh!